Greetings to us and welcome to another video. So Legacy of Destruction is very close to arrive. We're pretty much 1 to 2 days away from the set being officially released. And I kind of want to talk about a few decks. These are like decks and strategies that I have been testing and I have highly considered to play through this format. If you guys have tuned into this channel enough by now, you already know I'm not a fan of Snake Eye or any Snake Eye variant, and I have been looking for other potential decks and strategies that could do well in the metagame, uh, despite like the over strong insurgence of Snake Eye. There are other strategies that strongly believe could be as good as Snake Eye, like for example Melodious and Jubel. You won't be seeing those decks in this channel because I have not tested those decks enough. But there are a few other options that I have been testing that actually have piqued my interest. The first one is Tempai Dragon. I don't think comes to a surprise to anyone. I think Tempai Dragons are like the most hyped deck in Legacy of Destruction, and for a very good reason. This deck has been doing very good in the OCG, despite it being a battle phase centric deck. And if we stay in a format like the one we saw at YCS Rally, I think this would be a really good opportunity for Tempai Dragons to actually find their place in the metagame, because this deck is not really that weak to hand traps. Like, surely there are a few choke points like Droll Lockbird, the Ghost Ogre, and a few other cards depending like how your sequences go between inside the battle phase and outside of the battle phase. But for the most part, hand traps don't do really a lot against this deck. And it's mainly because of Sangam Matter. Not only do you have Sangam Matter that makes your monsters immune to like activated effects during the main phase 1, but you also have ways to get to it, like for example by Dora, or by the new name is Paidora. They can just set it directly from the deck. So you are dodging stuff like Ash Blossom, you're dodging Droll and Lockbird while resolving this effect. So this deck is really scary. I've already played against this deck earlier this week. And I can tell you right now, if you are not prepared for the Tempai Dragons, you should be like at least practicing against it, or at least learning what the deck fundamentally does, because this deck is going to be a really big problem for the meta, like one way or another. The next deck I want to cover is Memento. If you guys already know, Memento is receiving new support very soon. Not only in this set, but in Infinite Forbidden is already slated for new support in the OCG. This deck slash strategy is very unorthodox. Not many people know how this deck plays, and that could be very advantageous for you. I look at this deck very similar to how Chimera was when Duelist Nexus debuted. It's one of those strategies where it's going to do very well at regionals, or at like a bit of more higher than local events, if the right pilot of this strategy knows what they're doing. I think this deck is not fully solved. I think after the support from Infinite Forbidden, this deck gets significantly more stronger. But that's not to say that the new support from Legacy of Destruction is not good enough. Like Mementolan Fusion as well as Twin Dragon are two very good cards. I'm actually surprised they are both commons, like in the set. That being said, this deck has a lot of starters. This deck has a lot of one card combos. This deck actually has a few tools that can help it go second. There's not really a lot of optimization you need to do with this strategy. Right now, my current build is playing Prosperity and Polymerization, Super Polymerization, so that already tells you how flexible the extra deck is. This is mainly a main deck strategy that just revolves around like combine creation. So with that being said, Memento, I think, has a very strong future. Um, if you want to invest in this deck, I can tell you it's safe to do it now. Not just because of the support from Legacy of Destruction, but for the support that is coming like later onwards. Now we have Lysworn. There are a lot of different Lysworn builds. There are a lot of Lysworn variants. This isn't like the definitive best one. I've seen versions with Bestials. I've seen versions with Thunder Dragon cards. I've seen versions that are just pure Lightsworn and just playing as a control strategy, just revolving around both Minerva monsters. I've seen a lot of different hybrids. I think this is a very interesting one. Uh, we haven't seen tier laments do anything as of late. I don't think tier laments have been fully power crept. I think the biggest issue with tier laments is that the deck cannot play too many non-engine cards, and that same concept goes for Lysworn. Like Lysworn is a mill strategy, therefore just being able to future summon and like being able to like break boards and do a lot of plays with this deck is not the easiest task if you are facing like a very high ceiling deck, like for example Snake Eye. That being said, Lightsworns really benefit out of tier elements. They really do help bolster the strategy. You have access to stuff like Visas and Ritara that can access you to your entire tier elements engine. Your tier element monsters can fuse away a few other cards. If you decide to play like a more chaos build with other monsters, like some of the tier element monsters are dark, so that is a possibility as well. But yeah, I I've been requested a lot to rejoin this deck, so to that one viewer who keeps suggesting it, here you go. Now we have Goblin Bikers, and this will be the last deck I'll be covering here. So, not really anything changes out of Goblin Biker except for this card. This card is called Goblin Biker Pileup. What this card reads: target one XYZ monster you control, special summon one Goblin from your extra deck, and if you do, attach it as a material. So, what makes this card really cool is that you essentially have both a starter and an extender with this card. And I'll explain. Let's say, for example, you do your goblin combos involving like the Kashtira cards, and you end on Shangri Era alongside the XYZ Fortress setup, which is Fortress with Armor Fortress. If you have pile up set up on your board, which is easy to do because of Dog Charger, you can essentially turn that Shangri Era into Gabanga or into Crazy Beast. And Crazy Beast is a spell disruption by detaching from anywhere, while the Gabonga can add you a goblin monster, but at the same time is also disruption because if you have stuff like Boonmock or Clatter Exploder in your like rotation, you can just detach from Gabonga, and then Gabonga will trigger to just attach a monster. So Pile Up is a really strong card. Uh, I think Goblin Bikers have not done anything since their release, but with Terror Top being unlimited, with the Kashtira engine still being intact, and with like other viable tools that the deck has, I think it's only a matter of time till somebody figures out this deck, and it can do a lot of damage. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you found these videos informative to your liking and understanding. More Legacy of Destruction content coming soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.